Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Today's show is brought to you by the award-winning NordVPN. I've been using Nord for years now because it secures my internet traffic and keeps my data private, especially when traveling or on public Wi-Fi. NordVPN has servers in 60 countries, does not log your data, unlocks Netflix and other geographic restrictions on entertainment content, and has a 30-day money-back guarantee. To get the best deal on a subscription, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com/NordVPN or use the promo code BTFuture. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Ming Zhao. She's the co-founder and CEO at Proven Skincare. Ming, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on the show. I'm actually even really selfishly fascinated by what you guys are doing at Proven Skincare, but maybe before we get into that, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I am an immigrant.
Very cool.
When I was 12 years old, moved with my parents from China, from northern China, like the Detroit of China, in a city called Shenyang,
Nice.
to South Florida, to America. And at that time, I actually didn't speak any English when we first moved here.
Wow.
None of us spoke any English. So I was placed in English as a second language classes in South Florida, where most of my classmates, my friends, were from Latin American countries, or Cuba, Puerto Rico. So it was funny. I actually first learned Spanish before I picked up English because hanging around mostly Latin kids. But I studied and worked really hard. So within 3-4 years of being in the country, I became fluent in English and actually at that time scored a perfect score on my SAT verbal.
Wow, I was going to say, you don't sound like you don't have any accent or anything, so your English is really good. So, yeah, that's awesome. Good
Thank you. It comes out at special times, the accent.
No, that's great. So you went to university. What did you take and why?
Yeah, I studied. I went to Emory in Atlanta, which was close enough to home, and I studied finance and German.
Oh, interesting.
Finance.
Okay.
Yeah, finance because I'm actually a third generation entrepreneur. So
Gotcha.
my grandfather, when he was 19 years old, he had to escape a famine that was happening all around China, where in fact, at the end, many dozens of millions of people died. So real famine, and he actually walked like 1,500 miles to a new city,
Wow.
and then opened up his own little bakery that supported his entire family, like 6 younger siblings, so that none of them had to die in the famine.
Wow.
And then my father. The reason that we actually moved to the States is because he was among the first generation of entrepreneurs when China and Deng Xiaoping first opened up the economy for entrepreneurship. So he was, he opened his business during that time, and he was expanding his business to the U.S., and that's what allowed us to move and immigrate to America. So I'm a third generation entrepreneur. I feel like that runs in my, that tenacity, that perseverance runs in my DNA. So, I knew that I wanted to be within the realm of business, and what that meant exactly, I didn't know. So, when you're impressionable at that time, people were like, oh, if you're going to do business, finance is the best thing to study. So I just, it wasn't exactly a very well thought through choice. I just chose finance because I knew I wanted to be within the business realm. But German, because I remember meeting a few of the faculty in the German department. They were just such lovely, down to earth people that I just wanted to be hanging out with them. So I actually studied German for all 4 years when I was in college.
Very cool. So you know a bunch of languages, a handful.
I've unfortunately forgotten my German. I actually studied in Austria for a little bit right after college, but even then, it's just, if you don't use it, you just lose it. So it's a little bit of it's sad.
Fair enough. So you get out of school. Walk me through your journey up until Proven Skincare.
Yeah. So the first job I had out of college, I was a management consultant with the Boston Consulting Group.
Oh, interesting.
So I was first in the Atlanta office, and then was part of a program where I could work internationally, and I got to work in Mumbai, India, which was super exciting. It was such an eye-opening experience, both to just visit there, but also to work there, work in an environment where everybody is just so excited. Everybody is so excited about the prospects of their country emerging out of the backwaters and becoming something truly great. You could feel the excitement in the people, in the workers, and the knowledge economy that was really starting to boom there.
Interesting. Okay.
And then after working in BCG for 2 years, I was then recruited by somebody I worked with before to join Bain Capital, which is a private equity investment company. So again, this sort of interest in business in general, and I knew that BC Foundation with management consulting, to understand what makes a business a good business, for example, or what perils there are, as businesses get bigger, etc. And with Bain Capital, because on the investment side, the companies really look for specific things that make winners over others. So I wanted to gain that level of intuition, that investing intuition, to dig even deeper into companies, into what makes them successful versus others in the same category. So I think I built a great foundation through these 2 jobs for entrepreneurship, even though at the time I didn't know that I would actually found a company later on. And then after, so with Bain Capital, I started in the Boston office and then worked in Hong Kong for most of my 2 years there. Learned a lot, invested in consumer companies, helped sell companies, just learned a lot in general about sort of, what makes a good company a good company. And then I went to Harvard Business School, moved back to the States, went to Harvard Business School. And after business school, was at a little bit of a quandary as to what I would do. I always knew that I enjoyed the people side of business, whether it's the people side of finance or of consulting. So I actually first went to a job where I knew I would have to deal more with the people side of finance. So I joined a fund of hedge funds called PAMCO, which is out on the West Coast. And also I was trying to move out from Boston to California because I had gotten a taste of the warm weather and the land of milk and honey, and I wanted to be out there. So I was like, wherever in California, I'll just move. So PAMCO was in Southern California, was in Orange County. And I was there for about a year. And then I had a good friend who joined Google from BCG, and I had visited her a couple of times in San Francisco. And again, I just loved the energy of San Francisco. I loved how everybody is just so, go-getting. And you talk to anybody, they have all these great ideas, and they're, executing towards these dreams of changing the world and whatnot. So I was just really attracted to it. So after visiting my friend who was, working at Google for a while, I was like, you know what, I want to move to San Francisco. That's where I feel like I can really jive with the people there. So I then joined Salesforce which is my first experience in a real, large company, first of all, and also in an operating company rather than in a principal agency role. And it was also a great learning experience to just understand, how businesses who are just everyday businesses operate from the inside. And I was part of their strategy and operations team supporting sales. And sales is just such a fascinating topic in so many ways. And Salesforce was, one of the best at it, how they organize their sales teams, how they compensate, how they motivate them, how they even use predictive analytics to try to understand, who on the sales team might be on their way out, might be thinking about, changing jobs, and then how do we save them? All these fascinating ideas that deal with human psychology. I had a great experience learning about all of that at Salesforce.
Interesting.
Okay.
No, keep going. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, and then a friend from a previous job became a recruiter at NerdWallet, which is a consumer fintech company, and told me about NerdWallet, and I was really drawn to their mission, which is to bring financial knowledge and financial expertise to everyone, so that they can all know the perils, for example, of payday loans, and also on the other hand, know which credit cards can give you the best, most advantageous rewards for all of the regular day spending. And for me, somebody who has worked in so-called high finance, where I was seeing large trying to make money for rich people, it was really great to be able to join a company where the mission is really to help the finances of everybody else. So I joined NerdWallet, and I became their head of partnerships to try to leverage different resources that different company had, such as a partnership between NerdWallet and Redfin, where we would help maybe the agents at Redfin, give them more knowledge, more data, more insights, and then maybe Redfin would help us and send some more traffic our way into NerdWallet. So it was a really interesting experience. NerdWallet is one of the top experts as a company at SEO and at organic traffic. So it was really eye-opening to learn about that and to understand how to grow based on pure organic demand. So that was my last role before my startup. So
interesting.
So at NerdWallet. So I had met my co-founder Amy through my then boyfriend, now husband, who had worked with her in an adjacent role, and was like, wow, this is an amazing technologist. You both have entrepreneurship aspirations. So why don't you see if you guys get along? And we really did get along. And we got started thinking about ideas that we would do. We tried a few, gone through other like co-founding teams. Some of them didn't pan out. And then eventually we got onto the idea of Prove It, because we just couldn't stop thinking about it. It was one of those things where we're like, let's think about the supposed real idea, the real big idea, but maybe the proven thing, this personalized skincare, could be like a side business, like a side hustle, while we think about and try to come up with the real big idea. But then we just couldn't stop thinking about Proven and couldn't stop thinking about skincare and how we could improve it. So eventually Proven became the real the big idea. And how we came upon it was that, so for me, while I was working at Bain Capital, it was one of those roles where it was 14-hour days, one of those all-consuming jobs, and whereas a very competitive, very cutthroat culture environment. So I remember one day I woke up and saw myself in the mirror, and it just felt like I was looking so old and withered, and just much older than my age, and I was in my 20s. So it was a very panicking experience. So as soon as I, had that feeling, I started just buying and, investing in all kinds of expensive skincare products. I would go to these department stores, and the counter lady would tell me, oh, this is going to do miracles for you. That's going to do miracles for you. And then, of course, like someone else who walks in who like was completely different age, they would tell them the exact same thing. But I believed them, and I used all these different products, but none of them did anything for my skin. I just felt really betrayed, really frustrated by the entire industry. And, many of my friends were feeling the same way. And it wasn't until I went to a personalized skincare specialist, some time later, who first examined my skin, understood my life, my environment, etc., before making personalized products for me, did I really see a difference in my skin and how I looked and how I felt. So I wanted to bring that kind of experience and that level of result to everyone. So this personalized concept just, stayed with me. And then Amy herself, she had, her own skin concerns and issues that also wasn't being solved by the products that were out there. So she actually built for herself. So Amy, my co-founder, is a computational physicist from Stanford.
Interesting.
When I met her, she was working in a research lab at Stanford. And I remember this conversation we had. One day we were having lunch or something, and she was like, I don't think the research lab I'm working in is going to win a Nobel Prize. So I want to figure out a different way to make a big impact in the world. Maybe let's start something.
Interesting.
And so she, to solve her own skin issue, she actually built for herself this AI-powered database that found all the scientific literature, all the scientific research, all the clinical studies, all the ingredient research from governmental studies, from the companies, from universities, etc., together with all the consumer testimonials and reviews, and used machine learning to run through all of that and to make connections between the ingredients that are in the products that people talk about, the ingredients that are discussed, studied by the papers, and how those ingredients impact the people that are using it, based on who these people are, like their ethnicity, their age, their concerns, where they live, etc. So, when she and I, finally decided this proven the skincare idea is worthy of delving more into, we then started to further build upon this database to the point where now it is actually the largest database in the world for skin and for beauty.
Very
and
cool.
We call it the Skin Genome Project. Yeah, thank you. So it encompasses more than 20 million consumer testimonials and 4,000 scientific papers and research and clinical studies on skin. And then she's run really sophisticated machine learning, deep learning algorithms through that to make those interconnections, to understand what ingredients have what impact on what people and what skin concerns. And in fact, the database and the technology is so sophisticated that we actually won MIT's AI Technology of the Year award for the database. And that's not against, beauty or consumer companies. That's against 400 other AI companies.
Yeah,
so,
that's huge.
It's really the first.
Congrats on
Thank
that.
you.
That's huge.
Thank you. And it's really the first time that anything of this caliber has been applied, to skincare and to beauty.
Sure. No, that's awesome. So how did you guys actually get the first version of the product ready to kind of ship to people? Like you must have had to build a bunch of stuff, or like how did it come together?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there are a lot of stories there too. So we had this idea, we had this database, and we were like, let's start a company around this. We didn't know exactly what kind of company it would be outside of us wanting to apply technology and apply all the research there is to improve skincare products. So then we actually applied it to Y Combinator and actually got accepted into Y Combinator, which was awesome. And pretty soon after being accepted, we both realized that we were pregnant. So that was interesting times.
Sure.
So the one of our trusted mentors from the program was like, our goal is to make sure that you have successful companies, and yours too, probably. So, it's probably not ideal for you to be, very visibly pregnant, both of you, while on stage pitching in front of hundreds of investors on demo day. At the time, is do you want to make a statement, or do you want to have a successful company? And for us, what we wanted to do was basically be responsible for both of our babies, or one who's about to impending. So we decided then to defer the program. So we actually were part of Y Combinator when we both had newborns, and through Y Combinator, we actually the head of dermatology at Stanford University, Dr. Tyler Holmig, had read about us and reached out to us while we were in the program and told us that he believed that this is the future of skincare and of caring for people's skin and of beauty in general, and that he wanted to be a part of helping us make this into something real, something grand. So we then partnered with him, with Dr. Holmig, and then another cosmetic chemist from Stanford, Dr. Nick Conley, to then build a foundation for dermatology understanding, build a foundation for cosmetic formulation. And that's how we started, experimenting. That's how we started making products. And then our chemist advisor introduced us to chemistry labs that were making products, that could help us manufacture. So then we got, into those networks. And that's how sort of the story began more officially to prove it.
Interesting. No, that's very cool. So how did you actually get the first version of the product into the hands of consumers?
Yeah, it took many, many months of R&D, basically. So as soon as we got our initial investments post demo day, we then basically retreated to Dr. Conley's living room, where he had a chemistry lab.
Okay.
Where we just worked for many months to formulate products. So basically, Amy would, we would posit these questions for the Skin Genome Project, our database. Amy would then come out with sets of ingredients that are, correlated with special populations we want to serve, and then ingredients that are negatively correlated that we would make sure we don't include. And then we would, work with Nick to say, do these ingredients, can these ingredients be mixed safely and effectively into a formulation to actually have a end result product that would be beneficial to these people that we want to serve. And that process would go back and forth. At the same time, we would go meet with Dr. Holmig at week to say then, what are these basically the same questions. Do these ingredients make sense? Are these safe? What are the more cutting edge ingredients that we could also include for this specific skin concern, for this specific subsegment of the population? And this process went on for 8 to 10 months before we had products that were ready to be even tested by customers. We had all these machinery to test for safety. We had these accelerators that would accelerate things. We would freeze products. We would purposely leave them in hot cars, to test like stability, microbes, et cetera, et cetera. It was a very interesting process, pretty time-consuming process. But eventually we had a few samples of products that we actually beta tested with fellow female founders at a female founders conference. That was basically our first emergence out of our chemistry lab, where we bottled them bottles, put labels on them, and got people to try them for like minimal, basically no cost. And we got really good feedback, and that was really encouraging. People wanted them more. People were willing to pay for more. And then we then moved our operations into a bigger lab space where we could actually manufacture by the gallons, which was actually my own living room. We just moved all the equipment, bought new equipment,
Wow.
manufactured in bigger batches, and then did another beta. And through that one, it was more of a more open beta where we, invited people online to try it and got really good results again, but also learned a lot about, messaging and how we talk about ourselves, how we describe the product to people, how we describe, the ingredients and the philosophy, etc. And that process also went on for some months before we were able to take the winning formulations to a manufacturing lab to then have those be ready to really be scaled and become real commercializable products.
Interesting. Today's show is brought to you by FreshBooks, an all-in-one small business invoicing and accounting solution. I've been using FreshBooks for over a decade to send estimates for time and expense tracking, sending invoices, and collecting payments online. Then at tax time, I just generate a report that can be sent off to an accountant. To get a free trial of FreshBooks, please go to buildingthefutureshow.com/FreshBooks. So how did you guys fund all this? Because it's got to take a ton of time and money to get this off the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. A ton of time and money as well. Because at the same time, we were building a data platform,
Right.
and that's also not, it's not free. So we were building basically a consumer company and brand and physical products and a technological platform at the same time. And there's more that we had to build too that we'll get to. So we did raise a seed investment round after YC Demo Day. So that Demo Day that was referred to in the beginning
Right.
was in fact pretty instrumental for us. We raised a couple $1 million.
Congrats.
That is what thank you. That's what funded the initial initial R&D tech platform building process.
No, very, very cool. So I'm curious then to know, how has the company kind of evolved over the last few years? Because you guys have been around now. You've obviously been through a bunch of kind of growth and whatnot over the last 3 years. So how is the company similar and different from, or changed over the last few years?
Yeah, it hasn't even been 3 years. We were in Y Combinator in the beginning of 2018, started building all of this during 2018.
Wow.
And then in 2019, we had our first public beta where we went to market with, like a homepage, and we ran ads to the homepage to get, the customers that we didn't know anymore interested in, paying for products. And, that was really the first big test for us. Are people who don't know us, who are not connected to us in some way, willing to, pull out their wallets and buy products from this brand that was, they've never heard of before. And, thankfully the messaging and our approach, this very exhaustive scientific approach of starting with data, with empirical research, and then working with some of the best experts in skin, whether it's the best, dermatologist that we can find, best cosmetic formulator that we can find, to then make products and then, work in a U.S. lab to manufacture it. Thankfully that resonated with people, and we were able to prove out a successful beta of 2 months, where people were willing to become our customers. And then after those 2 months beta, what we did was we just, interviewed and learned as much as we can from those customers and just improved everything about the company that we could improve, including our formulations. There were some things that we learned, such as, we, in our excitement, probably packed some too strong of ingredients in some of our products, where people whose skin is not used to having this level of strength, could break out in the first couple of days. if they stick through it, they would have the best skin they've ever seen. But it's, a little bit panicking in the beginning when they see that. So
Interesting.
that meant we didn't have, several different levels of ingredients so that we can ease people in with the ingredients we have. And then as their skin acclimated, then they can go into the next level and then the next level so that they're always seeing the best results that they can, for themselves. Other things include, how to serve customers. How do we make sure that, they have questions, we have ample resources to answer those questions in a timely way. How to make sure that products even arrive in their homes at the time that they should arrive, so that people receive the product. How to make sure that our operations is scalable, our payment processor is scalable. How to improve, conversions on our website, improve our messaging. All of that we then worked on for the bulk of 2019, and then we actually launched towards the end of 2019 in a more public way, and it's been going great so far. It's been about 4 months since we launched, and we already in the multi-million-dollar annual run rate. So
Wow.
so yeah, we're really excited that people tell us that they've been waiting for something like this to happen in skincare, because the satisfaction rate in traditional, like, one size fits all skincare is really low, because our skin is our body's largest organ. If you had an issue with your kidneys, you wouldn't just say, hey, let me go to the drugstore and just get the most popular kidney medication.
Interesting.
But somehow we do that with our skin, even though, you and I, we live in different environments. Therefore, our skin needs different, moisture levels. You have different, ethnicity. That means our skin needs different ingredients that to get at different things. So it's just very logical and makes so much sense for us that this should exist, and actually makes sense to a lot of our customers too. They're like, this, I can't believe this hasn't existed until now. That was proven.
No, very cool. And so I like, walk us through the journey of, like, how you actually get to figure out my custom formula, because you guys kind of have a quiz, but walk us through that, and then how people actually get to order it, because it's actually quite fascinating. And I did it myself, and we'll talk about it once you describe it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we work with Dr. Ming to basically, download from his brain how he would evaluate a patient, when that patient goes to his office and sits down in front of him.
Got you.
We basically simulated a dermatologist diagnosis of how an aesthetic dermatologist would be diagnosing somebody's skin from an aesthetic perspective. We're not trying to diagnose like skin cancer or things of that nature, which is why, he's an aesthetic dermatologist. He's more concerned about how to make sure your skin looks and feels the best it can from a dermatology perspective. And that is what we're concerned about as well. So all of the questions that are on our quiz, which we call the Skin Genome Quiz, first of all, it's free. It takes 3 minutes to do. It's all adapted to you. So based on the initial questions you answer, the rest of the quiz is, drastically different for somebody versus for another person. It's between, 22 questions and 48 questions. And yeah, based on that, we're able to understand more than 40 factors about a person, and somebody's gene expression, somebody's environment, somebody's external lifestyle, their, and their skin concerns. And from that, we then separate people into more than 20,000 different subgroups, which we call skin topologies. And based on which topology you fall into, we then can show you exactly what ingredients we know will be right for you, and the exact composition of your proven personalized skincare system, right after you take the quiz.
No, it's very cool. And yeah, like, I love how you guys just list the ingredients out. Like, they're like big. You got nice pictures of each one of them, and it talks about like each of the three kind of products and kind of why you recommended them to people. But how does actually creating the different like the moisturizer and the cleanser and the, like, the cream and the serum and stuff, like, do you guys, like, how many different variations do you have, or do you have to mix them different depending on the quiz, like how does that kind of work? Because that's got to be tricky in a manufacturing sense.
It is, yes, absolutely. And I think that's one reason you don't see many, personalized skincare players out there because it is tricky. Everything has to pass FDA approvals, has to be batch tested. And, we have three categories of products, as you alluded to. We have a cleanser that doubles as a toner, a personalized night cream that also is several serums into a night cream together, as well as a day moisturizer SPF, and it's SPF 30 or 40. And we have more than 600 permutations of products across these three categories. So it is quite an intensive manufacturing process.
Sure.
So we're quite lucky that we've been able to work with a manufacturing lab that really does believe that personalization is the future of skincare and of beauty. So they're willing to, manufacture all these different SKUs, even though for manufacturers, their business model is to have as few SKUs as possible at as high volumes as possible. And in fact, our lab is the same one that creates several top dermatology products that you see at Sephora at very high price points. So, they're all chemists themselves and all, a team of scientists. So we're really lucky we get to work with them so that we can, so that we can make this, make proven a reality.
No, that's very cool. 'Cause so it is really customized to me personally based on all the factors that I entered in the quiz, right? That's very cool.
So it's not a bespoke one-on-one product. So it's not like
Right.
we answer a quiz and then we go into a lab and we make it one-on-one.
Sure.
But it definitely gets to, the 80-20, probably the 90-10 of what benefits customization would make for you without making it, have to be thousands of dollars in order for it to be, a viable business. Because if it were bespoke one-to-one, then it would be in the thousands of dollars. And, when I tried my personalized products, I did pay thousands of dollars.
Sure.
But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to create a business and experience that is approachable, which is why our price point, for 3 products, which is everything your skin needs for 6 to 8 weeks, it's only $119 for the 3 products if you subscribe, or $145 if you buy one time, which we think, is a very approachable price and definitely tremendous value for what you're getting, for the amount of results, for amount of research that has gone into it, for the, the level of ingredients and the cutting edgeness of the ingredients. So we feel really good about that.
No, I 100% agree with you. I think like as somebody that's played with a bunch of skincare stuff as well, like I've kind of, like I mentioned to you earlier before we started recording, it's like I've struggled with acne since I was a teenager and I'm almost 40 now and it's still like an issue. And so, spending $150, $200+ in every 6-8 weeks is not uncommon, right? And I think people can relate to that with other skin issues. So like in a lot of cases, you're just as expensive, if not cheaper.
That's
and
right.
It's customized
the average
to me,
skincare
right?
products. Exactly. We're actually below the average price for skincare products, and our the level of results and our products are certainly way above average. So it's very good value, which is what we wanted to do.
Very cool. So obviously, like we've talked a little bit about acne, but what other types of skin conditions do you guys kind of help with now?
Yeah, we're able to help with about 75% of the population's skin concerns.
Wow.
And some of these major ones include, acne, as you mentioned, hyperpigmentation, which is sunspots, or spots that result from hormonal issues, such as melasma, such as from pregnancy or birth control pills, etc. We also help with anti-aging and wrinkles, as well as elasticity. In fact, from our recent clinical testing, we've been able to show via actual instrument testing that our products have shown great results for elasticity, for hyperpigmentation, for calming skin sensitivity, etc. So we're really excited about that. Same thing with dryness, with sensitivity. A big portion of the population experience some form of skin sensitivity. So we're able to serve many, all of these conditions and a few others as well, such as rosacea.
Very cool. No, that's really cool. So I'm curious, without giving away anything that you guys are kind of working on, where do you kind of see the future or like the vision of Proven kind of going? Because there's potentially, it's kind of endless. Is that fair to say?
Thank you for that, Kevin. I appreciate that. We feel the same way. What we want to build is like the P&G for personalized consumer products.
Sure.
Because Amy, when we first started seeing great insights and results from the Skin Genome Project, she's actually built a foundation for the Skin Genome Project in several other categories as well, including let's say the Baby Genome Project, the Body Genome Project, Hair Genome Project, etc. Because we want to create this elevated level of experience and elevated results and elevated customer experience through personalization and data for many other consumer categories as well, where things have to be applied to your body, where individual differences among people make an impact on what results they see from products, where we don't want to have one size fits all products anymore, because one size fits all really doesn't fit anybody that well.
Right.
So we really see our future as being able to serve customers in a much expanded way, and to just revolutionize the consumer space in general with better personalized products.
No, that makes total sense. It's quite interesting, right? And then I'm like, do you have plans to add other kind of lines that maybe treat something or like a certain skin condition maybe that's a little bit outside of kind of just your daily routine, or is that something you guys don't want to go down?
We are so focused on R&D that everything we do takes just so many months and
Sure.
so much trial and so much like lab testing that it is quite an exhaustive process. So we're definitely working on new products, but in terms of when they'll come out, it's uncertain. And we also really want to just focus on building a great brand, a great customer experience with Proven in the meantime with the products that we have, and continue to improve the products for our customers. That the new products is not necessarily a focus for us right now.
No, that makes total sense, right? So I'm curious then, people go online, they answer your questions, it recommends the different treatments for them, and then obviously they order. How long roughly does it take for them to get it? Obviously it probably depends on where they live in the States, but are you guys planning on expanding outside of America, and how long does it take roughly in America to get?
Yeah, the process is super simple. Like you mentioned, they just go online to our website at provenskincare.com. They take this 3-minute, very quick quiz that's also very comprehensive. And in America, people are able to get their products within about 2 to 3 weeks. And we're working to shorten that time period to within 2 weeks and eventually within 10 days.
Sure.
And we've had a lot of people tell us they really want to see the products in Canada as well as in England and Japan, etc. So we're actively working on making that available. It'll be actually available to Canada shortly here.
Very cool. No, yeah, like that's totally cool, right? And so I'm curious though, how do you guys? Well, I guess like, do you guys plan on going into stores eventually, or do you want to stay online, or you kind of just want to see where the future holds?
Yeah, one step at a time. I think
Sure.
we're going to stay online for some time, and then maybe Amazon could be a good path for us to reach more people. For Amazon, I don't see them, incorporating our quiz, which is a little bit, it's a little bit of a travesty, because I think we experience the customers. But what we could do potentially is to make available our most popular, our most often utilized SKUs, maybe the top 15 or so on Amazon, so that they know that, this is not entirely as customized as you would get if you were getting it from provenskincare.com.
Gotcha.
However, this is still, somewhat of a customized experience where you can select a little bit about your skin, a little bit about yourself, and then we can still provide a slightly more customized experience than, usual one-size-fits-all products.
No, that makes total sense, right? Like it's tricky when you're doing something custom to have it stocked on a shelf, right? Yeah, that's fair.
Exactly. Yeah, so we don't see ourselves going retail anytime soon, unless we can figure out a very clever way to do it,
Yeah, no, fair enough. I just wanted to make that kind of clear to people listening. But we're kind of coming to the end of the show, so maybe let's close with mentioning where people can get more information about you guys and any other links you want to mention.
Yeah, thank you for that, Kevin. Such an enjoyable experience to chat with you and to recount the stories. People can get Proven at www.provenskincare.com. That's where you can take our free 3-minute skin genome quiz and receive a comprehensive skin profile at the end of that tells you exactly how your environment, your lifestyle, your gene expression, concerns come together to dictate what ingredients make the most sense for you. And you can also purchase Proven right then and there. I'm happy to offer a special code for listeners of the show.
Sure.
If you'd like, Kevin. I don't know if you usually do that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How about Future 10 for 10% off your first purchase with Proven through being a listener of Building the Future.
Perfect. Thanks for that. And I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to be on the show. And I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's been a pleasure to be here. You too.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.